What's up, everybody? This is Jaron Gulino from Lynch Mob, and we are on Talking About Rock.
Okay, today's guest brings us the East Coast attitude and the energy to his stage and music. He has performed with bands such as Tantric and Heaven's Edge, and currently he's on tour with George Lynch's Lynch Mob. Joining us now, let's welcome Jaron Gulino. Jaron, how are you, man?
What's happening? Everything's great.
Hey, thank you so much, man, for hopping in and speaking with us, man. I know you guys have been busy, man. So what's happening with the Mr. Scary mini winter tour? You guys are kind of in the middle of now, right?
Yeah. So like the Mr. Scary mini tour was a select portion of our dates. It was a special 3-show run where we had a lot of special guests: Ricky Thrash, Ben Cody, Jackson Davenport, where we celebrated a portion of the George's docking career, as well as doing a Lynch Mob performance. But outside of that, the mini tour, we are on a standard Lynch Mob tour that's been going, all year so far. We're only in March, but we've done quite a bit of shows. So the tour rolls on, and in our typical fashion, we are doing, what we usually do with Lynch Mob, which is, playing stuff from, all over the different eras of Lynch Mob, and throwing in some docking and some other stuff as well.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I did a little reading through your history, so I wanted to hash a little bit of it out here. So I went back a little bit, and I was reading your 8th grade history teacher gave you a copy of Back for the Attack, which kind of fueled your fascination with 80s rock and George Lynch. Did you ever think you'd be stepping on stage and playing with him?
I didn't, man, especially back then. That wasn't even a thought, because I wasn't even a musician back then. So pretty crazy, pretty fun, to think back on those times and to see how far it's come, and to close the full circle moment. That teacher is now a buddy of mine, and he also plays in a band, and we actually just had his band open up for us this Tuesday back in Philadelphia. So it's nice to return the favor and pay it forward, and keep the music dreams alive.
Excellent, excellent, very cool. Yeah, you started pretty young, I guess, from what I was reading. You started at 15, kind of cutting your teeth on some thrash and death metal. And you also played, I think, guitar at your local School of Rock, correct?
Yeah, very briefly. I started going to School of Rock because I saw that a lot of my friends in school were doing that, and it was a great place to meet up and to gather to jam on music, everything from Slayer to Iron Maiden and things like that. And it was really the breeding ground for the scene here, kind of where I grew up, and the birthplace of what I would call my career.
Right. So early on, when you started early, you were fronting your own bands, but you also got hooked up with Heaven's Edge, stepping in for them for their departed bass player. Tell us a little bit how that started out.
Sure. Well, Gigi had passed away, I believe, 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And the band kind of wasn't sure how to continue. And then heading into 2019, they were kind of trying to put the pieces together, and deciding whether or not they wanted to continue. And, when you're an all original band, with all the original 5 guys, it's hard to really envision of what the band would be without one of those guys, especially after all these years. So to get that call, it was an honor. And, of course, being a Philly native, Heaven's Edge is a legendary band here. So it was hard for me to think of any other response other than yes. And those guys are all kick ass. And, I'm still doing that here somewhat close to 7 years later. So I'm very grateful for that. And we have a new record coming out later this year, which will be the second one that I've been a part of. And so, it's a pleasure to help the band continue its legacy, and to keep the fans happy out there.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you, actually, if they're working on stuff. But that's great. Yeah, Yeah, I talked to Mark quite a while back. It's been a little bit since he released the last album and stuff, but that's awesome that you're coming up with that. Very, very cool. So another thing you're involved with here, you got a lot of stuff going on. You teamed up with Stone Sour's Josh Rand for the L.I.F.E project. And I think Cassandra Carson was also doing some stuff with that as well, right?
Yeah, so that was her and Josh's project. It started out just the two of them. And then as it became more of a touring thing and, opportunities came to hit the road, we had to find a band to, put that together and fill it out. So that's when I became involved. And I believe there's a new record coming here in the next couple months, sometime within there. I'm not sure the exact date. Yeah, we spent a lot of time working on it, and it's been done for a while now. So I'm very excited for it to see the light of day.
Yeah, very cool. She's another very busy artist as well, not just with Paralandra, but I know she was talking about her Cassandra's Crossing, another follow-up album that's going to be coming out. So very cool to hear also that we're going to have something else from the L.I.F.E project. Are you guys thinking about working any stuff together, you and Cassandra, putting any stuff together yourselves?
It's hard to say because we do the L.I.F.E project together, though we're not really collaborating in that aside from our individual parts. The Cassandra's Crossing project with George, it has been kind of like it first started kind of as a one-off thing, and
right.
The first album was amazing. And then they actually just completed a second record, which I collaborated with her on for vocals, lyrics and some melodies and stuff. And not that she needs any help. Her work is truly amazing, but it was very special to be able to work on some of that with her. And I think fans will be very happy when they hear it. It is truly an amazing record and probably some of hers and George's best work that I've heard.
Yeah, definitely. When we came across her work, a couple of years ago with Paralandra, I was kind of blown away with that. Just some amazing stuff that she was doing with her dad, just very cool. And I've kind of just watched that grown, and then her teaming up with George. I was like, that's just amazing. Such a great fit, such a very, very cool fit.
Yeah, Paralandra's an incredible band. All around, all four members bring so much to the table, and it's one of those bands where I feel it's a crime that more people are not aware of who they are and that they're not bigger than what they are. But they are continuously growing and, gaining new fans every day. And I think it's just a matter of time until, the bubble pops, if, so to speak. It's one of those things where, I hear the music, even some of the older stuff versus the most recent stuff. It's timeless and it never gets old to me. And I really wish them nothing but the best.
Yeah, it is really, really hard I think for any band right now. Just to get heard, just to get out there, just get some streams, get some views on their videos. It seems like it's even more difficult now to do that. You know what I mean?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. The one thing I want to ask you about too, is I've been asking a lot of musicians about, is obviously the growth of AI and how that's reaching into every aspect of our lives. And what kind of scares me is obviously how it's reaching into music. What are your thoughts around that subject?
Well, I feel two different ways about it. I do feel that people need to roll with technology and, adapt as it grows, because the moment that you stop adapting to it is the moment you become outdated and, kind of behind the times. However, I am an old soul in music. And so, I don't feel that AI really has a place in music, or whether it does or doesn't, it's a matter of opinion. But for me, I'm still a guy that uses real old amps. I'm not a digital guy, so I feel like music should be organic and a human thing. And not knocking anybody that uses AI at all. It's just not my particular cup of tea. But it is quite crazy how far it's come, and I've heard some pretty wild songs and pieces of music that were generated by AI that you almost can't even tell. But it's kind of scary. It's a scary time to live in, because there's so much out there that's generated by AI that you just don't really even know whether it is or it isn't. And whether that's spreading false information or enhancing things to make lives better, it could go either way. So I think it's a slippery slope no matter, which way you go with it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. The one thing that seems to be consensus about, at least at this point, is it really can't really can't give you the human emotional response from the music that you would get if it's a real person making that music. There's like no emotional connection that the audience kind of feels with that. One thing I did see this was it last year. I just wanted to let everyone know again is, as far as the AI music being generated, I've seen it be generated falsely on streaming services. So case in point, I was interviewing the guys from Babylon AD, and I was talking to them about a new song that showed up under their profile with Vinnie Vincent. And I'm just like, okay, so I guess you guys are doing a collab here with Vinnie Vincent. And they're like, no, that's not our song. It's an AI generated song that got put up there by Spotify, and we're telling them we want to take it down. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is crazy. So it really makes me think what's happening with artist rights as far as streaming services. Are they kind of handing over some of their intellectual property for them to mess with? Who knows what the small print says? So just something I think everybody should be aware of and keep an eye on for sure.
And it seems a tad bit criminal, if you ask me.
I would tend to agree for sure. So crazy stuff. I know you're busy and you got stuff going on. I know you're taking a break here from the road. Just from yourself, any words of wisdom for any young musicians out there today trying to get into this? What they should look out for, maybe what they should concentrate on?
I think the most important thing, and I say this to people of all ages and in all, areas of their careers, is, make sure that you enjoy it. Make sure that you're doing it for the love and the passion, because, at the end of the day, even if you're one of the biggest stars out there and you get paid a lot of money, it is a lot of work, no matter how famous you are. It's a grind. And it should be a labor of love and, something that you feel deeply passionate about, because that's where you get the best results. I feel like, you're out there with your friends, your bandmates, your family, you're playing for the fans, you're out there delivering a service and a performance. And the last thing you want to do is, phone it in or be miserable while you're out there, because there's so many people out there that do want to be there. There's so many people out there that would kill to be there. And I feel like, in this music community, there are so many great bands and so many great people, but there's also a lot of people out there that don't really care, that don't really want to be there, and, that are famous for the wrong reasons. And I feel like, if you're a young guy coming up, keep pushing, work hard, don't stop working hard, no matter how big or famous you get. And just focus on your craft, whether that's playing your instrument or, going all out on stage and just putting on the performance of a lifetime. People pay hard-earned money and travel many hours to see music, to see shows, be performed, all over the world. So the last thing you want to do is be there and have it be lackluster. You want to deliver. And as a musician myself, that was the most important thing to me always, is delivering for the fans, no matter how good you feel or how bad you feel that day. You are there, to do that. And if you don't want to be there to do that, then there's a lot of other people that will gladly step in for you. But never get discouraged, just keep making music for the right reasons. And that's personal happiness. And if you can truly believe in what you do, I find it's much easier for other people to truly believe in it as well.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely some great words there. All right. So cool. Well, thank you so much, Jaron, for being with us today. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and appreciate you taking the time.
All right, so that wraps up this episode of Talking About Rock. To our listeners out there, we hope you're doing your part by keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are. Jaron, again, man, thanks.
Thank you.